Hello, this is Dan Maher. I want to go through the final. It's a little bit different setup from your other tests in the sense that it's like a take home test. So there's no password on this, it'll just come available at 8 o'clock on the first day of finals. So I'm going to open up this test for me, and it'll jump open and I can start the test. And when I do that, I can go through all the questions. It's a longer test, so you have in this actual test is 74 questions. But I can start working on the test and fill in some answers, and this is it says first use the commutative law of multiplication, so I'm going to change the order of the multiplication, so I'll have 7 times 6n. And here it says the associative property, which is changing the grouping, is to group the 6 times 7 together. In this case is what they're looking for. And then actually, because I can do those things, this is going back to chapter 1 stuff, because I can do that, it allows me to use the commutative and associative laws to override order of operations, so I can actually simplify this and do the 6 times 7 first. Because before, the way it was, if I have 6n, which is 6 times n times 7, you're basically stuck. Is that according to order of operations, you have to go left to right with multiplication. So that's why we have these laws, and they're important. Just to review, you probably wouldn't be talking this way during the test, but then I can put 42n is my, now this brings up a pretty good point. Now I hit the wrong letter, B, and when I go on to the next question, it's just going to take that. You won't find out that that's wrong till afterwards. Now, when I do chapter tests, I go through your paper that you submit with your tests. I go through your work, and I see the algorithms. I see that you display some understanding of some concepts, and I give you partial credits for that. I do not do that on this final test. So it is absolutely important that you check these things, not to make these simple errors like that, because you will have to accept that grade. And if you've basically done good work and you understand the material, and then just put down like the wrong variable, that can hurt you quite a bit. So take the time, make sure you enter the questions exactly the way you intend to, and do well on this test. You have the ability now, and I'm going to show you, is that, I started the test, I spent some time on that. I would look up, like, if I wasn't sure what the difference between the commutative and associative laws for this edition here, I would look that up. I'd go to the book, find out what they're talking about. Any resources you want, you could Google in associative law of addition, and it'll explain it really well. Do that. Take the time to do this, and make sure that you're absolutely sure what the answers are as you're doing this test. Because what I can do is differently than on the regular chapter test, where we are, we're in a proctored session, and if you have to leave or something to go to the bathroom, the proctor needs to be involved and all that kind of stuff. But I could work for an hour, and then I could just close this by exiting the window here, and it'll ask me, say, hey, changes you made or may not be saved, but I know that first question was recorded. I could, go take another final or whatever, and I can come back. And then when I open up this test again, it'll say finish the test. And so then I can go on and work and finish the test or work for another hour and do that. So you have time, and it comes back to the question that you or that I actually entered here, which gives me a chance to review that. And if I answered any of the other questions like this, I could go back and review it all, so when I get to fractions and so on. But when I hit submit test, no matter how many days I have left in the final, that's like handing in your paper and then the test is done. So make sure you do not submit this test with this button until you're absolutely sure you're ready to hand the test in or finish the test. So I want to make sure you understood that going into the final. It's an opportunity to get a good grade on this test. It's weighted the same as your chapter tests, which is, they represent 60% of your grade. So good luck, and hopefully I'll see you in another class.